Okay, Gary, it says we're live. You can proceed. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustments for Monday, July 6th, 2020 at 1:50 p.m. And we do have a quorum. And review and talk about the last meeting's minutes. Does anybody have any questions? No questions on the minutes. Your motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved for the last meeting. All right, our first case today is the first and only case, item number 3 on the agenda is ZBA 20-19, 3960 North Chadbourne Street, Dame Cinco Inc., Tom Thompson's district. A request for approval of a variance from section 511.I of the zoning ordinance to allow a maneuvering area of 6 feet in lieu of the required 24 feet for 90 degrees parking for the property located at 3960 North Chadbourne, generally located at the southeast intersection of North Chadbourne and 40th Street. And we're ready for staff's presentation.
All right, I'll take just a moment to share my screen. I hope.
You're doing all right.
Oh, yeah.
You have a good morning.
Relaxing.
Me too.
All right. As you indicated, this is variance number ZBA 20-19 for 3960 North Chadbourne Street. It is a variance to allow two-way maneuvering for 90-degree parking facing North Chadbourne Street for 6 feet of maneuvering space in lieu of 24 feet. It is in District 2, Tom Thompson's district, and Lakeview neighborhood. The zoning for the piece of property is CGCH, general commercial, heavy commercial. We notified 11 people in the surrounding properties. We have 2 that we received in support and 0 in opposition. The applicant owns this piece of property. It's about a 10,000 square foot building that he has been using as personal storage or work storage for the past couple of years. You can see where those blue doors are located. It's like they're right here.
Hold on, Sherry, I'm not seeing you click through your PowerPoint. I'm just seeing the original first screen. So make sure we're seeing the correct thing.
Okay, I have no way of telling, so thanks for letting me know.
Yes.
Are you still seeing just the regular?
I'm seeing the very front cover sheet is what I'm seeing of your presentation.
Okay. I apologize. Hey, can you help me? All right, I'm gonna stop, and it says I'm sharing, so stop and when you start again. That's it right down there. Or, yeah, that one right there. Let's try the next. Okay.
Yep.
There we go.
You got it? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. All right. So this is the first slide, and it does talk about the variance and the request. Let me move on to slide 2. This shows that this piece of property and most of the property in this area along North Chadbourne is general commercial, heavy commercial. We sent out 11 notices to the surrounding property owners. We received 2 in support and none against. This piece of property is the piece of property owned by the applicant. It's about a 10,000 square foot building. And right where those blue doors are is the entrance area right in here to a 1,500 square foot space that the applicant has leased to a client in order to have a retail piece of property there. When they came in for that, or when the applicant came in, required a change of occupancy. That change of occupancy kicked in the parking requirement, and we took a look at the piece of property and realized that the parking is on his property, and there is about a 6-foot asphalt area for maneuvering, but the rest of the space out here is a very large right-of-way that's off of Chadbourne. Now the applicant at the end of the property off of 40th does have a concrete driveway that leads up to that door, and he's wanting to use that as an entrance, which does meet our parking ordinance and access ordinance. And then he is proposing that he will asphalt from that concrete driveway, asphalt enough area around to provide the 20, which is about 18 feet, to provide the 24-foot of backup space that is necessary for the parking that would then be along the building where it's traditionally been. And as you can see, there's about 24 foot that goes out to where the old asphalt ended. So he would do about 18 feet of asphalt itself. And then that space in here is 42 feet, which would still leave about 8 to 10 feet that is bare ground before you get to the Chadbourne paving, which is what engineering wanted left bare to not encourage people to drive across Chadbourne, but to come around and access it through the driveway. Going through those 3 variances, as you're well aware, the 3 that we have to look at are special circumstances, resulting in unnecessary hardship, overriding public interest, and literal enforcement. In this case, we looked at special circumstances because the property is existing. It's always had insufficient parking space to comply with our present ordinance for maneuvering space, but it's always had, for the last 40 some years, had parking along the front of that building. There are others on the north and the south from this building where they have the same situation. Most everybody out at that end of Chadbourne, because of the very wide right-of-way and where the paving stopped on Chadbourne, they've all pushed their buildings when they built them close to the right-of-way in order to be seen from the road. And looking at special circumstances, again, we're looking at the existing building and the right-of-way that is so deep there that does provide maneuvering space. In this case, it is not a result of anything the applicant has done because the building has been there since the late 70s. The literal enforcement in this particular case, where the 10,000 square foot building, only 1,500 square feet of it is being rented to the one applicant. And for him to go to the expense, I think some of the cost figures that he had received and the timeline lag on it was substantial for him to go to that expense. He felt like he just couldn't do it for one 1,500 square foot piece of property. He does, however, intend on working on the building and opening it up for rental and knows that he will have to provide that ultimately, and that is in his plan. Um, this is about the minimum action that would be necessary. He's got the existing driveway, he's got the parking on his site. It's just the maneuvering area that presents the problem. And we do believe that it is consistent with the zoning ordinance and the intent of the zoning ordinance to provide parking, allow that kind of use. And as you recall, we had a similar application just last month. Staff is recommending approval of the variance to allow for the maneuvering area of 6 feet and then for the 18 feet within the right of way. And we're recommending 2 conditions of approval. The one being that the applicant shall continue his application for an occupancy permit and to meeting all of the permits necessary for what he has to do in order to rent to this property owner and let them, or property applicant, and let them use it. And that any additional use of the existing building other than the current proposed tenant or the owner's personal use will require a different parking lot configuration that meets the city's parking ordinance. With that, staff has completed their presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions for staff?
Sherry, can you go back to the picture that showed your measurements and the yellow line?
I can try, sure. I believe it's there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the, where the white truck is parked, that's where he's hoping people will enter, not coming across Chadbourne. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
Coming off of this driveway off of 40th, yes.
So does that leave enough space for people going both directions? If that's the enter and exit of this whole building, does that leave enough space for people
Yes,
both ways right there?
there is enough space there. That the concrete there is actually much wider than it looks like where that truck is. But yes, and they can build out the asphalt in this area so that they would be able to come here and then head out at the same time someone is coming up here. They would just have to wait just a minute. But that's the intent, is to have it built out.
Well, and that is the reason for condition number 2. This gentleman is leasing out 1,800 square foot of a 10,000 square foot building. So with additional uses, if he changes additional pieces of this building, we will have to look at other options for parking. Right now, we are trying to come up with the best solution with him leasing out just the 1,800 square feet of the 10,000 square feet building.
Okay.
Any more questions for staff? There being none, do we have public comment? Does the applicant want to talk and speak to it?
Yes, sir, I would.
Gary, can you stop sharing your screen real quick just so we can get better visual of Josh? And
Yeah,
okay,
did that work?
perfect. Okay, sorry, Josh.
Okay.
I didn't know you wanted me in a large format. That might be too
There
bad.
you
I'm
go.
sorry, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, good afternoon, board members. I apologize, our meeting on one agenda item being me.
Would
And
you state your name, please, sir?
my name is Josh McKay.
Thank you.
And I wanted to really thank administration and for everything that they've done with us through this. I know Sherry in particular has been super patient and helped a lot, and Hillary as well. So we're very appreciative for that. I really don't have anything to add to the presentation that was there. The only request is that we would have a timeline. We don't need a very lengthy one. We have a tenant, as you guys are probably aware, and if you're not, I'll inform you, you know, this area of town can be a little bit tough. We've had a very difficult time, not only getting tenants into that building, but tenants of quality. The tenant that is looking to come into that building and is under lease with us is an existing business that's outgrown and looking for, I'm hoping to give her a long-term home. I only have a 2-year lease with her right now, which is one of the reasons I've gone to discussion to the degree that I have with Sherry about the financial obligations tied to what we're proposing. But the only request I would have is that, we're given a timeline to complete those improvements. Like I said, it does not need to be a lengthy one at all. My main concern is I don't want to lose the tenant that I have. She's been on hold and she's been great to me about it. But I mean, if I go much further in time, I'm very legitimately going to have a problem, and this is going to be a moot point to even begin with.
What is the timeline for this? I didn't realize there was a timeline on.
Josh, how soon can you get the asphalt in there for the parking?
As soon as the contractor and permitting process will allow me to. I'm meeting the contractor over there this afternoon at 4:30. I'm not trying to put my eggs in one basket, but I was counting on this, going through, and as a result, going to give him what that criteria would involve. And then really it's just a matter of us getting through the permit process so that he can start.
So what the board could look at would be possibly setting a condition for a timeline. I've never laid asphalt paving, so I don't know that timeline and how backed up the contractors are. Several of you have done this before, so you might have a better idea of timeline. This would allow Josh's tenant to move in and occupy the building while he was working on the asphalt pavement. Now, be aware that if it does not get done in this timeline, the city would then have to revoke the occupancy of the building. So that is as long as everyone's aware of that. Awesome.
Some kind of performance agreement he could put up?
Yeah, we could come up with something. I don't know off the top of my head which agreement we'd use. We'd work with legal. Brandon's
Right.
on well, so we'd work with our legal division to come up with some sort of agreement to ensure these improvements were met in whatever time frame. If you're looking for 3 months or 6 months, I don't know what this board or the applicant has in mind.
Hillary?
Yes.
If you could put up a performance agreement, he could go ahead and the tenant could move in and start operating.
Brandon, were you trying to speak? I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the second now, but I think that a 12-month period is given in the ordinance already for things like this.
I think that's good, and considering it's hard to get people to work during these times, like just to get back with the person, I think as long as he keeps us up to date, I think I'm fine with that, not being in such a,
So
what am I trying to say? Be so stern to get that job fast.
Right.
So the ordinance says that an application to commence construction of improvements that were the subject of the request must be applied for and approved within 12 months from the date of approval of the request. And it looks like you'd have the authority to do one 12-month extension after that.
2 years.
So.
And Brandon, I guess I don't know how we would speak to the certificate of occupancy. And I'm sorry that the building official is not on here, but I'm assuming that he could get his certificate of occupancy while this process is in, while this 12 months is going forward.
I would think so, yeah.
So just so I'm clear, she can move in and get started opening the business and everything before the asphalt is done.
I think we'd have to have something written, some kind of agreement just to make sure. But yes, that's what we're hoping for, is that we can get the tenant up and going at some point in the near future.
Yes, and I've done that before. Board members under a conditional use permit. I'm happy to do it in whatever is the easiest and whatever legal advises.
Josh, did we answer your question? As far
Yes.
as, okay, so it sounds like you have a 12-month time frame to get it done. You're gonna get it done as soon as you can, and the tenant can operate while this is going on under a conditional use permit?
No, the ZBA was triggered by the change of occupancy. So they will be doing a change of occupancy. This board could create a condition. And what Brandon is saying is it's already in the ordinance that with this has to be completed within 12 months. And then the ZBA would have the ability to extend that up to another year. But I think from Josh's point of view, we want to get this done and, kind of close this chapter as quick as possible. So we will continue to work with him as we go forward, but it's nothing about a conditional use. It's just the change of occupancy triggered these parking requirements.
Okay. Any more comments from the board? Well, yeah, any comments from the board?
No.
Are we ready for a motion? You hear a motion?
I motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
There's a second. I'm gonna ask for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Sounds like all are in favor. Motion carries. Good luck, Josh.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
That was easy. We have any housekeeping items we need to discuss? Division report.
Hillary, do you have anything?
I'm sorry.
Hi, Hillary.
I know, I was still thinking about something. No, we do not have a division report. As y'all are aware, the governor keeps extending the emergency declarations and the things that he's working on. So at this time, we have been directed to continue to have virtual meetings until city council directs otherwise. So orders have not been extended through next month at this point, but judging by the rise in cases and things like that, I would look to see this probably be another digital meeting. But just be aware that we will keep in touch with you and we will post on the city's website if there's any additional information.
Thank you. So we have a meeting Monday, August 3rd, 2020?
Yes, we do.
We do? Okay.
And I'll be on time. I apologize.
Jason, I can come pick you up.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Somebody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have a good one.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.